is the tank under all actinic light. Actinic light causes the microscopic dinoflagellate organisms, they're kind of half plant and half animal, live inside the anemones and corals and polyps, zoanthids as they're called. They live inside, and when the light, that's very high energy blue short wavelength light, hits the chlorophyll cell in the zooxanthellae, it knocks an electron many times out of its orbital to a higher orbital, and then a moment later goes back to its lower state orbital, releasing what is called fluorescence, which is why that anemone is fluorescent. It is why that anemone is fluorescent. That's why little spots of red coral, they're barely visible, are fluorescing. Actinic light. ACTINIC. You can look down the throat of that white anemone who hid away inside the hollow faux rocks for a while, and now she's lost a lot of her zooxanthellae, but in the middle of her body she has a bit of fluorescing zooxanthellae. I did a lot of work on the tank today. Took out a whole bunch of Caulerpa prolifera, which is this macroalgae that looks like grass you see growing right there. Took out a lot of the filamentous algae growing atop the rocks. I have turbo snails, Mexican turbo snails. They're not very fast, you expect turbo, but they do a very good job of cleaning the rock, cleaning the filamentous algae off. That is a turbo snail right there. That is a turbo snail right there under the anemone. There are 5 turbo snails in here. I got 7 more coming. There's also lettuce nudibranchs in here. That is a lettuce nudibranch. I got 3 more of those. There's 6 in there. Since I cleaned it, I've seen 5 at one time. I'm sure the other ones are just, the other one is just either in the algae that I removed in the other tank, in the hospital tank. I set up a hospital tank today. So when I pulled all the Caulerpa that was in here out, it went into the hospital tank. One of my Peterson's cleaning shrimps has eggs. She may end up in the hospital tank with the just the power head and the air stones running, so that her babies get a chance to grow. I would love for some cleaner shrimps to develop in the tank. There is another lettuce nudibranch above the anemone. These guys are a bonded pair of purple flamefish. The clownfish in the tank, 2, The one in the middle is Mobius. She is a golden lightning clownfish, maroon clownfish that is, golden lightning maroon clownfish. Here comes Magnus, the coral beauty angelfish. Back to the back he goes. This over here is Morpheus. It's a little male maroon clownfish, and these two are pair bonded, so they often now, more and more often, are sharing anemones. Another coral beauty angelfish is coming tomorrow. It's much smaller. You see the blackfish slinking around here in the foreground, picking at the Caulerpa algae. It's a macroalgae, green macroalgae. Looks kind of reddish in the fluorescent phase of the blue light, the actinic light. That right there is a yellow fantail blenny. There's two in the tank. They may be pair bonding. They're fighting less and less and acting more and more like they're used to each other. And in fact, this guy, who normally keeps entirely to the right end of the tank, right into the, all the way down to here is his territory. Now he's kind of going wherever he likes, and the other blenny is not being bothered as much. So they're getting used to each other, and they may pair bond. Fishes are often either protogynous, meaning born females and turn into males, or they are protandrous, born males and turn into females. Protogynous in the tank are the clownfishes. So the smaller guy, wait a minute. Excuse me, protandrous are the clownfishes. So the smaller guy is the male, and that big girl there that just went up into the upper hole there, canoodling an anemone inside the rock, two anemones in the rock. That's a female, so they get to a certain size, they turn female when they're the largest one on the reef. So if you get them of two significantly different sizes, you can often get a male-female and get some pair bonding going. These two are apparently, the purple flamefish, are apparently male and female, because otherwise they fight. So I got lucky there. Let's see. Oh, here's a Ceryanthid. If you'll be able to see that anemone. I can barely see it. Right there on the bottom, to the left of the fluorescing anemone above. It's an anemone that comes out of the sediments. There's a lot of baby anemones in the tank. Quite small, would be hard to see. The shells in the tank are for the blennies to hide in. There's also a orange spotted blenny, quite large, about 4.5 inches, and I believe Sprite, the orange spotted blenny I had before, who leapt to her death by leaping out of the aquarium through a 1.5 inch gap. Sprite appears maybe to have reproduced in my tank, because we have a mystery fish in the tank that appears to be a baby blenny. I've been watching it since it was 3/8 of an inch long, and it's a little over an inch long now. It's growing quite quickly. So we have algae control coming tomorrow, 4 new anemones to go in this new mostly unoccupied rock down here. Hopefully the cleaner shrimp will get to have some of these anemones. They like to live in anemones, but this Mobius, the big female clownfish is almost claiming every anemone in the tank. She ranges all the way down to this big anemone now, and I've seen her ranging all the way down to this little anemone down here. So she's a kind of greedy girl. I'm trying to get the cleaner shrimps their own anemones. Hence, more anemones are coming. There are like 10 in here, most of them hiding in rocks, which isn't good. But an interesting thing is she is occupying Mobius 3 or 4 different species of anemone. And these guys, maroon clownfish, are supposed to be, they'll only go in like this guy down here. Bubble tip green anemone, or they like the green better. But it was not my experience before. When I had clownfish, I had maroon clownfish, and they would go in almost any kind of anemone in my experience. So here we have it again. The aquarium sites say, don't put 2 in the tank together, they'll fight. Well, no. They say it about the purple flamefish, and mine aren't fighting. They say it about the clownfish, and mine aren't fighting. They say it about the yellow fantail blenny, and mine, you know, they kibitz a little bit, but not much. And it's only a 4-foot long tank. So we have a lot of algae control coming tomorrow. 1 angelfish to hopefully be bonded pair with the one that's in here. 4 anemones. I plan on, after I get the pair bonded angelfishes, hopefully the blenny baby, the mystery fish, turns out to be Sprite's baby, and she bonds with the orange spotted male in there, who I have named Kilroy, who hides a lot. That's why I call him Kilroy, because all you see is his head sticking up over things. What a face. I'll show you in other videos. I realize this isn't the prettiest because of the darkness, the blue, but I wanted you to see the fluorescence and how the tank looks under actinic lights at night, which is what we're under right now. You see those little pieces of dark rock on top of that faux stone, and those have zoanthids on them. They got knocked down into the thick caulerpa beds I had before, and were there a few days before I found them, so they've closed up tight. They're not dead, but it'll take a while before they come back out, and they fluoresce really lovely green, so I hope you get to see those. I'll show you another time. There's a tiny medallion anemone there on top that's fluorescing kind of a greeny gold in its tentacles, and a little bit of red around its oral disc. As I mentioned, I really cleaned it today. I took out all of that extra algae, caulerpa. It was covered with the filamentous algae, so I got all of it out. I only put a few, clumps in to help keep the pH up, because the photosynthesis from the caulerpa raises the pH by consuming carbon dioxide, which is why I don't turn the lights off at night, because as soon as the lights go entirely off, the plants begin to breathe just like you and I do, which means they use oxygen, which lowers the oxygen available for the other animals, and they expire CO2, which breaks down into carbonic acid in seawater, lowering the pH. So you keep the lights on at least actinic, so you do have some photosynthesis going on, instead of everybody in there breathing, which would drop oxygen levels, drop pH, make a big fluctuation during the nighttime. And the thing you really want, and in marine aquariums in particular, is stability. You don't want big changes, big fluctuations. I don't know if you can see this, but that yellow fantail blenny, whose body is black, his fantail is not yellow under this light. It's kind of fluorescing a copper color. Since the cleanup, I am missing one lettuce nudibranch. That is, missing does not mean gone. It means unaccounted for. I haven't spotted it yet. Not found equals not found. Till I find it dead, I assume it's still alive. And I'm also, one cleaner shrimp is unaccounted for. But they're clear, except for blue spots on their body and white antennae, and so they're very easy to miss. I counted her, all 5 of them present just a few hours ago after the majority of the cleaning had been done. She just goes from anemone to anemone. And because of that, anemones of different species are right next to each other and touching each other in my tank, and they're not stinging each other because she is carrying the taste of every anemone on her body into every anemone she snuggles. So that makes them desensitized to every anemone they taste in the slime of her little fishy body. I have seen her, you can see the shorter tentacles on that anemone in places. I have seen her, this was the first anemone she hosted to, the one she's in now. I have seen her bite the tentacle tips off of that anemone, that's why some tentacles are shorter, and go over and spit them into the tentacles of a green bubble-tipped anemone and into the tentacles of the Haitian anemones. That's a Haitian anemone. And into the tentacles of Condylactis anemones in order to habituate the anemones to the taste of each other, so that she could occupy them all. And she's being good now, but she's generally a very rough lover. She headbutts them, she shakes inside them really hard, even when they're not doing well and they're pulling back into the rock trying to escape her because she's canoodling them too hard. She continues. I think she may have killed one of the anemones canoodling it too hard. I don't know. I haven't seen it in a day or so, but that doesn't mean it's gone. Not finding equals not finding. So right now, the all that caulerpa I took out of that tank has been transferred. My office has become a lab. My microscope in the middle, and this is over on the left is a plankton, copepods, and brine shrimp tank all in there together. That's why it's green. And this tank is the hospital tank. And it is full of all of that caulerpa. And it's presently being driven by a 300-gallon-an-hour powerhead UV and sterilizer, and underneath the seagrass, the caulerpa in the back where you can't see it, there's a couple of air stones, but you can see the air entrained in the water. So that's where all the caulerpa went, along with the shells at the bottom that I took out of the bottom of the larger tank because there's stuff growing on them and possibly in them, and I didn't want to accidentally kill anybody, so we put them in there. So because there's no big phosphate problem in this tank, you can see this faux rock here in behind, covered in the filamentous green algae. And that's because there was too much phosphate in the other tank. This tank is distilled water. I don't know how I got so much phosphate in the other tank, except for I used some undistilled when I did a water change. So I'm hoping the filamentous green algae, I can put a few of the lettuce nudibranchs in to clean that up. Some of it's really quite healthy. You can see this looks very good. You know, a lot of it looks quite nice. Pull it out a bit at a time and add it back to the tank. And in the interim, if I need to like put the cleaner shrimp that is presently full of eggs, if I need to put her someplace where her babies can hatch and not be killed right away, I can put her in here and turn off the UV component on the little power head, because they're separate controlled, and that way there's really nothing. All that will do is circulate the water, and there's nothing in there to kill and they're called naupli. There's a little zippered bag here full of ceramic media that is full of the bacteria that I need to do the processing of ammonia to nitrite and then to nitrate. Ammonia and nitrite being fairly toxic to everything but plants, and nitrate also good for plants but much less toxic to fish. So once you get colonies of the bacteria, they're in that zippered bag on the ceramic biomedia, then you can move them around. There's a bag of that biomedia crammed into the bottom of that faux stone, which is why I put it in here, so that it would have all the culture that it needs to make the system run, the biological system run, so that things don't go toxic. Anyway, so that's the present situation. Tanks for the memories. I could watch aquaria for hours. I think this little town where I live needs a public aquarium, small public aquarium, for people to just come and socialize. Maybe what it needs is a tobacco-free pub, where people can come and socialize and stare at the aquarium. That would be fun. I could call it Tanks for the Memories. Mobius is really a ruffian. Get her just, hey, anemone. I don't know what she wants from that anemone that she keeps butting it that way. It's like she wants something from it. But the anemone is doing better since she started hosting in it. All of them are, so mostly being stimulated by the clownfish, I think, is helpful to the anemones. And she does go out and grab food out of the water column and bring it to the anemone. She also takes trash, anything that the anemone excretes out of its mouth in the middle of its center disc, she takes it and spits it out into the water column. So she does housekeeping on the anemones. So it's a cute relationship. I love clownfishes in their anemones. I love anemones, and I love clownfishes in the anemones, and I love the cleaner shrimp in the anemones. Let's see if there's a cleaner shrimp in this one. Yeah, the white anemone down at the bottom has a Peterson's cleaner shrimp in it. You can see its white antennae. And then back there at the intakes, I don't know if it's going to focus for us because of the, see that cleaner shrimp on the back wall hanging there, little white antennae, and body is lighter colored against the wall. That's a Peterson's cleaning shrimp. I think that's the one that's pregnant, in fact. Not pregnant, carrying eggs. Gravid, I should say. So to clean it up, I put a 600 gallon per hour power head in here, UV sterilizer, that had it all blowing really, really hard. Big current in the tank, and you know, it made a mess and it sucked it all up. So it's a lot cleaner than it was. There's a lot less debris laying around than there was. I really hate a dirty aquarium, and I've been obsessing over this thing. I forgot how much work they were. At least they weren't this much work before, when I didn't have this filamentous green algae problem, and I don't know what is causing that. Never had that problem before. I will take a half a cup of filamentous green algae out of this tank. Long, long strands, 6 inches long. And the next day, it's all back. But that can only go for however long the nutrient that's feeding it is still available. And as much as it grows, it takes that nutrient. When I take the algae out of the water, it takes the nutrient with it. So I'm hoping that all this algae removal is going to remove the nutrient that's feeding this algae bloom as well. All right, folks. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for the memories. Please like this video and the other ones in all of the playlists. And I'll be doing mostly these videos with no narration unless there's something important to tell you about, because I think tanks are best for just staring at in silence. So as the little blenny slips back into his shell, and Morpheus wanders down to dance with Mobius. They dance at each other. Yeah, he's definitely romancing her. He won her over by tickling her tummy. She came out of the bag and saw him and said, "I'm going to eat you." And he danced really hard, very frantically. And then when she lunged at him, he dashed under her and kissed her tummy like 3 times. And she looked all flustered, really. She stopped chasing him and turned around and swam away like, well, don't know what to make of that. But she was back a few minutes later, kind of hanging out around him like she wanted him to, hey, you know, do that thing again. He just wants to be near her. He's hanging out near her anemones to get her attention. Those anemones in the rock there, you can see them in that hole. There's two. There's a bubble tip green, and there might be a green long tentacle, and there's a condylactus. So my peeps, thank you for liking the video. Come back again. And I'll mostly post videos that are just silent so you can enjoy watching what's going on. But if there's something interesting to be told about what's going on, I will let you know. I'll try and do another one shortly after I get the new livestock added tomorrow. I hope you all have a nice rest. See you again soon, godlings.